Hello out there. I'm Eric Lorber. I'm the director of Rain Taxi, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 20th Twin Cities Book Festival. We're winding down the third day of our 3-day virtual event, and it's been a lot of great fun. In our festival this year are 19 live author events like this one. As you can see, some of those are ASL interpreted. We have with us Alan interpreting this event, and we want to thank the University of Minnesota Libraries for their support in providing accessibility services. We also have a handful of charming pre-recorded presentations in our Minnesota Writers Mashup and our new chapbook launch. And we have a great exhibit hall filled with publishers, organizations, and authors ready to share with you what they've been up to these past months. In fact, to give you a taste of what's going on in the book fair, we want to show you now a brief video from one of our sponsoring exhibitors. Check it out.
During the early months of the pandemic, my artist friend Sharon DeMark and I made a book of poems and watercolors where anyone can find shelter, such as under the canopy of a tree. Canopy is one of the poems in the book. Like a child, I sit down, lie back, look up at the crowns of maple, needled spruce, and a big-hearted boxwood. Fugitive birds dart in and out. In the least little wind, birch leaves turn and flash silver like a school of minnows. Clouds range in the broad sky above Earth's great geniuses of shelter and shade.
Shelter, a Noden Press book, is available through Itasca Books and bookstores everywhere.
That was delightful. Thanks to Noden Press for their support. And it's my pleasure now to introduce this session, which is our Yappy Hour with W. Bruce Cameron. W. Bruce Cameron is the author of a slew of best-selling books that have delighted dog lovers and readers. Some of them have been turned into major motion pictures, like A Dog's Purpose. Some are for young readers, like the Puppy Tales series. And his brand new book is A Dog's Perfect Christmas. Good timing. To present an author focused on dogs, we of course had to find a reader who's also a dog lover, and fortunately I knew just the person. Pamela Klinger-Horn is one of the mainstays of the literary scene here in the Twin Cities. A great reader and as you can already see, a dog lover. So I'm delighted that she can be here to lead the conversation with our author, W. Bruce Cameron. We want to remind all our viewers that you can ask a question of the author. Just use that link at the bottom of your screen. They'll be sure to get to those questions. You can buy books by clicking that link at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like, you can donate to our nonprofit organization. We love putting on this free book festival, but every dollar we raise this year will just go right into helping us start planning our event for 2021, whatever that's going to look like. Meanwhile, enjoy this presentation and take it away, Pamela.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon. As Eric said, I'm Pamela Klinger-Horn from the board at Rain Taxi. I hope you've all been enjoying the festival as much as I have. And thank you for joining us for Yappy Hour. I have my friends here today, the squirrel and my Labrador Tucker. And I found out that Bruce's dog is also named Tucker. So it's the most popular dog name of the day. If anybody else has a Tucker, give us a shout out in the chat line. I'm sure many of you know Bruce from his humor column, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, which became a popular TV series on ABC. But mostly he's well known for his wonderful dog books that started with the best-selling A Dog's Purpose and became a hugely popular movie. He's followed that up with A Dog's Way Home and A Dog's Journey. He also has a series of books for younger readers, which have won many awards and are taught in schools all over the country. This October has been very busy for Bruce. He's released A Dog's Purpose 3, and next week will be the brand new book, A Dog's Perfect Christmas. So please help me welcome Bruce to our virtual stage at the Twin Cities Book Festival. Welcome, Bruce Cameron and Tucker.
Thanks for having us, Tucker. Tucker's having some trouble understanding what we're doing. You know, he doesn't like the virtual events that much. He doesn't do much Zoom, never reads his email. And so we were trying to get him to sit on a pillow so that he could be in frame. And that has taken about 20 minutes and he doesn't like it.
We're doing the same thing on my Tucker on this end, which is also making him feel somewhat unstable. So he was not as cooperative either. So Bruce, can you please tell everybody who's watching today the wonderful story that I read in your first book about how you got started on the Dog's Purpose books?
Yeah, so I was a humor book guy. I wrote humor books, and a couple of them did very well. 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. That's why I moved out to Los Angeles to work on that TV show. And then How to Remodel a Man was a big bestseller. But I always wanted to be a novelist. I'm more of a storyteller as a writer than I am anything. And I was driving up the coast of California to meet the family of this woman that I had been dating for a little while. And I was getting kind of serious about her, but she turns to me in the middle of the car ride and says, my dog died and I can't go through that again. I will never have another dog, which was an utter deal breaker for me. And I'm thinking, you tell me this when we're 2 hours into a 5-hour drive, because now what am I supposed to do? And so I decided, I'm a storyteller. I decided to try to tell her a story so that she would come to believe that the love that she felt from her dog was still available to her if she would just open her heart to the possibility that it might come from a different dog. So I told her a story about a dog that reincarnates and remembers each life and learns lessons along the way to help get back to his boy by the end of the book. And that story, at the end of it, she said, "What do you call that?" And I said, "I think I'm going to call it A Dog's Purpose." She says, "Well, it has to be a book. You have to write that." And I said, "Okay." The story had its intended effect because we got Tucker. So that worked out great for me. And then, I wrote a book about a dog that doesn't die. So at the end of it, people are like, "Well, then what happens next?" And I thought, good question. So I wrote A Dog's Journey, which was the sequel to A Dog's Purpose. Both of those books became movies. And then people said, "Well, what happens next?" So I wrote a novel called A Dog's Promise, which just came out this summer, which is the continuation of the life of Bailey.
And those books can be purchased at Majors and Quinn if you click on the link below. And I think as a gift with purchase, you're sending out a box of Kleenex with each one, right?
When we had our premiere of A Dog's Journey, we handed everyone a pack of Kleenex as they walked into the theater.
Very good move. I think I went through a box when I was reading them. So what do you think it is about dog books that makes everyone just dissolve into tears, even when it's not a sad scene? I mean, I'm pretty stoic. I can read about a lot of painful things, World War II dramas, and I can get through them. One dead dog and I'm just a puddle.
Yeah, and so I want to be very careful to say here, I don't do dead dog books. I don't do. I remember my parents giving me Old Yeller when I was like in 5th grade, and I'm like, "Oh, this is a great book," until the very end when they kill Old Yeller, and I was so angry I threw the book across the room. But I don't write books where the dogs die in the end. There's always something going on when Bailey dies, he comes back. So he doesn't really die.
I know, but it's still very emotional.
Yeah, well, it is emotional for the people that the dogs leave behind, isn't it? And I think that it's because we know we've got this bond with these creatures, and they know it too. And at the end, I think what I would say is, if you're a one dog person, your dog's biggest concern as they are leaving the world is that you don't have a dog to take care of you. What they want more than anything is for you to get another dog.
I agree. It's a lovely tribute to the dog, that he was so wonderful in your life that you'd want to do it again. So, which is why we have dogs number 7 and 8 with us here. Yes. But I noticed in this most recent one, A Dog's Perfect Christmas, that instead of having Bailey, and Bailey telling the story, this one you kind of switched over to the human narrative voice to talk about the beautiful Winstead and the puppy Ruby.
Yeah, there are dog points of view in this book. I happen to have my own copy, but they're dog points of view, but it's not a strict dog POV. And I've in addition to writing A Dog's Purpose and A Dog's Journey, that was Bailey. There's another series I have going, or a book I have called A Dog's Way Home, and that was told from a dog's point of view. It doesn't get any easier to write from that point of view. It's actually sort of it's really hard, actually, and I made a lot of mistakes in A Dog's Purpose that I'm chagrined to admit, because over time I came to realize that there were, dogs can't see the color red, so I describing something of police cars having red and blue flashing lights, a dog wouldn't say that. So there are these gaffes, especially in the early books. And then there's just the limitations of a dog's vocabulary. I think, a dog has good vision. They can see a chair and a table, but they don't think like we do. So they wouldn't necessarily have words in their own minds for a chair and a table, but nonetheless, they would see them as objects. So you're allowed to cheat there. You're allowed to give them those vocabulary words, but pretty soon you've wandered into areas where you're trying to compare things with other things the way a dog might do so metaphorically. It's hard. It's difficult. And I laugh whenever I get a 1-star review. I've gotten a few of those, and it'll say, this is so simple. It's as if written by a child. And I'm like, well, it's supposed to be written by a dog. So yeah, it's going to be a little simple.
Well, it was still highly effective. I was absolutely swept away and willing to go along for the ride with the dog's story. I thought it was wonderful.
Good.
And we do have a question from the audience. Margaret is wondering, she knows you got the dog Tucker, but what happened with the day-long trip, woman, in terms of your relationship with her and openness to the new dog?
She liked that story so much she married me. And the shadow of the person that keeps walking around, that hand, that's not my hand. And that's not a stunt hand either. That's an actual human being hand coming in. She agreed to help with Tucker, who otherwise will have he'll just behave like a dog. He's not trained to do Zoom or anything. It's just not his deal.
Mine are being remarkably cooperative today.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
They're great.
I know. I think it's because they're tired. So she still does 3 miles a day on these little legs. So
wow,
I know, she's a trooper. How old is your Tucker now?
Tucker, well, Tucker works in Hollywood, so we lie about his age. So we say that he's 5, but he's 10.
Okay.
But he can pass for 5, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so, definitely. Do you know what breed he is?
Well, we kind of do. We did a DNA test, and he's got some terrier, some poodle, some beagle. He's got the face of a golden. He's got a little bit of golden in him, and after a while, you're realizing this must have been some wild party, because it's like he took every dog out there, put him in a blender, and out came Tucker.
Well, it looks like he got the best of all the breeds. So
yeah,
sweet guy. Yeah, that's great.
That's the best.
They are, yes. We had an old rescue guy too, but sadly we lost him this summer, so we're down to 2 dogs here. So, and I know you also write for children.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how those are different when you write children's books from your adult books or writing for film?
Yeah, I can. What happened was that I was getting feedback from parents saying that A Dog's Purpose was a little too intense. They felt like the language was approachable by a child. They felt like the child could really get into the story, but there were elements that were too tough to read for a child. And so it occurred to me that because it's a series of lives through this reincarnating dog, that what I could do is just take a life of a dog and turn that into a children's book, which I did. I called it Ellie's Story. It won book awards. I'd never won an award for anything. Well, 3rd grade, I won the spelling bee. That was my last.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, Then the second place, the loser, beat me up in the playground afterward. But she was a tough girl. So, but back to Ellie's Story then spawned Bailey's Story, which is the story of Bailey, and then Molly's Story. Those were adaptations from my bigger books. They just retold the story in a way that was safe for children. And then I sort of branched out, and there's a story. I wrote one called Lily's Story about a rescue dog who winds up living in and kind of working in a rescue. And Lily's Story spawned its own series called Lily to the Rescue. And I've got 4 of those out so far. I've written 7, and 4 more will come out next year. And it's a great series. And it's called Chapter Books, which is younger than younger readers. I don't know. That's the way they do it. So it's like Chapter Books is Lily to the Rescue. And then I've got my puppy tales, we call them, which are the stories of Molly's Story, Bailey's Story, Toby's Story. And
so those are from more ages 6 to 8? Early chapter book readers?
Okay. I go by grades. It's easier for me. So it's like 3rd to 6th grade.
Okay.
Although I've got plenty of adults who read them because they're dog stories.
Sure. And dogs are a great unifier. We've met so many people through dogs, and I'm sure you have with your books and everywhere you go.
And what's exciting for me is that there are, I've been approached by teachers and librarians who say reluctant readers are not reluctant when it comes to the puppy tales, that they'll read them and enjoy them. And that's fantastic.
Oh, that must be wonderful to hear. So
yeah, it actually, like I always thought, but I thought I was going to write thrillers. It was my intent. I wanted to be a writer for as long as I could remember, and I just assumed I would write the same kind of books that I enjoyed reading, which are mystery thrillers. They never took off. I've got one mystery series, but it's not as popular as my dog books, and so that's just how that goes. And I didn't think I was going to write kids books ever. That was never on my radar. But now, to go to an elementary school and the kids are holding the book and they have me sign it and they want me to sign their bookmarks and stuff. And I think maybe this is an author's purpose. Maybe the grown-up books, that's me enjoying telling stories, but the books that seem to be making the biggest impact and doing the most good are the books for the younger kids.
Oh, it is such a magical moment when students get a chance to meet an author and see that you're a real person and this is a career that they could pursue. It's wonderful. Yeah, really is. Do you do a lot of school visits every year?
Well,
other than during COVID? Yes.
But yeah, that has become a big part of going on a book tour for me. Is I'll go to a bookstore, of course, but then I'll go to elementary schools in the area, and I'll.
That's fantastic. Does Tucker go along with you?
Tucker's been to a few of those. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand why. He thinks everybody should be paying attention to him.
Of course they should. We had a question about Tucker in the chat box, and someone is wondering that since Tucker is a movie star, what movies has he been in?
I love that question. Tucker was in A Dog's Journey. There's a scene where Catherine, that's my wife, and I are walking Tucker in some park in New York City. It's not on screen very much. I think they took a look at me and they said, "Yeah, we don't want this guy in front of the camera." But he is also the star dog of a movie called Muffin Top that Catherine Michon directed, and Catherine Michon is my wife, so I was in the movie too, but she cut me from the movie, but she kept the dog. So I'm not as good an actor as a 24-pound dog.
Is Muffin Top available now, or will it be coming out at some point?
Yeah, no, Muffin Top had its theatrical run, and now it's available out there for video on demand.
Oh, okay, great. Good to know. Be a lot of people tuning in, I'm sure, tonight to watch A Dog's Purpose or Muffin Top and look for Tucker. So when you're writing, I know my dogs surprise me daily with their clever antics. When you're writing, do your characters surprise you as you go along, or do you always know what they're going to be up to?
Well, I love that question because what it reveals to me is just how different we are as authors. I've met authors who say, I sit down and I start writing a book and then the characters start behaving in ways that I could never have predicted. That's not my approach at all. I pretty much know exactly what's going to happen with my detailed outline before I even write the first word. And my characters don't misbehave on me. My characters stick to the script. And I write oddly in that I kind of add the characters last. Like what's really important to me is to get the what happens figured out first. Okay. And then I start working on making the characters interesting in their relationship to what's happening.
Okay.
That's
and then how do you approach. Great. How do you decide what breed the dogs are going to be in each different story?
Things like breed and dogs' names, those just feel right to me in the moment. There's in A Dog's Promise, there's this beautiful Malamute on the cover. I mean, it's just a gorgeous animal. And I had a Malamute. That was one of my early dogs. And the Malamute character is different than a lot of dogs. And in this particular instance, this dog, Cooper, needed to be, and of course, Cooper is the soul of Bailey, but needed to have some of the inner discipline that a Malamute brings to being of that breed. So that was a no-brainer to make Cooper a Malamute. The breeds just like characters feel right to me given the situations that they're going to be confronting in the book. That's how I do it.
Okay, great. And we had a question from the audience. They're wondering, in addition to Tucker, how many dogs have you had?
Well, if I count my parents' dogs, I can't count because when I was 8 years old, the same age that Ethan is when he meets Bailey for the very first time in A Dog's Purpose, I met my first dog, Cammy. My dad opened the backyard gate and in ran this little puppy, and we ran to each other like we had been.
Is that the black lab I saw in one of your books?
That is a black lab.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. And then my parents discovered they liked dogs a lot better than children. So they had 3 children, and so they got 3 dogs so that they would have replacements in case something happened to one of us, which I think they were always hopeful something might. And then from that point on, we just always had at least 3 dogs in the house, and that's how I grew up. And then when my first dog that was my dog was a Labrador, and then I had the Malamute, and then just a series of Labradors because I was familiar with the breed and I'd grown up with them. But Tucker is my first cocktail dog, and after he came out of the shaker and showed up at our house, he's just captured my heart. We
are also Labrador family. Tucker here is our 7th Labrador, And the squirrel actually used to belong to my daughter-in-law, was a fancy little New York dog, but she was falling apart in the city, so she decided to move to the Green Acres of Minnesota here, where she is now a robust Midwestern girl.
Oh yeah, okay.
Doing much better here.
I didn't
I know
do well in New York either.
it was too noisy for her. There was a question about your new book becoming a film. Any word about that?
Well, I can tell you that we have gotten a lot of interest. Movie making, adapting from a book is a long and torturous process. It's always worth it in the end, but when you're in the middle of development and you're just trying to get to a point where some powerful person says, "Okay, let's make this movie," it's all mysterious and you don't know what's going on, and you get all these meetings and phone calls, and they keep throwing actors' names at me and say, "What about this guy?" And I say, "Sure," because if we make the movie, it's going to be fine, whoever it is. But anyway. There is, as of today, there's not an offer on the table, but we have been told that we're going to be taking some meetings very soon. And I should mention that Catherine Michon, who taught me screenwriting, is my screenwriting partner when it comes to adapting my work. So we go on these meetings together.
That's fabulous. So, any chance that Tucker accompanies you on those?
I've never thought to take Tucker on a meeting. That'd be a good idea, though. I like that.
Yeah. The squirrel has attended quite a few board meetings. Tucker has not. I'm going to take one more question from the audience here before we go to the photo montage that we get to see today. Okay. John is wondering if you have given any thought about narrating any of your books. A Dad's Purpose, I still think would be awesome.
Well, I love narrated the audio version of How to Remodel a Man, and I did the audio version of a novel called Emery's Gift, which is the story of it's a boy, an 8th grade boy who comes to believe that he can communicate with a grizzly bear in the woods. And so it's a parable, actually, and I narrated that one as well. I enjoy doing it. It takes an absurd amount of time to get all that taped down and to do it correctly. And I get so disgusted with myself that I will mispronounce words that I wrote and know how to pronounce. So, but A Dad's Purpose, which is a collection of humor essays. Probably I would be the one to narrate that if we ever got around to doing that. I don't know how that's going to go. That's just, okay. We'll see.
Great. Well, we're going to take a little intermission here, and our tech expert is going to run some pictures that people have submitted from home of their dogs for Yappy Hour. So here we have Wallace.
Aww.
Wallace looks like what? Border Collie or something? What would you say?
Australian Shepherd, Border
Australian
Collie,
Shepherd, one of those working breeds. And he's ready for Halloween with his friends there. Very cute. Who's next? Oh, Rosie.
Rosie.
Now I can't tell. Is Rosie a doodle or a Kraton, or what would you say?
Now, my daughter, who runs an animal rescue, is an expert on dog breeds, and if I had known there was going to be a quiz, I would have had her join us because she can nail things like that. I think it's a doodle, but I don't know.
Oh, well, Rosie's very cute, whatever she is. So we'll go to the next dog. Boober? I have no idea what breed that is. Do you?
No, so sweet. Look at that face.
Yes, he's a very cute little guy. So, all right, who's next? Oh, Gracie. Very sweet. Gracie looks like a mixed breed there. Maybe she's very energetic. She's got on an electric collar. And who's next? Oh, Casey Joe. Casey gets a middle name.
Yeah, very sweet face. That Casey Joe looks a lot like the dog Shelby, who plays Bella in the movie version of A Dog's Way Home. They're
Oh,
the
great.
markings and the face and the eyes. They're so like Shelby. That's so amazing to see that.
Is that some Rottweiler in there, maybe?
I could see some Roddy in there. Yeah.
Very handsome. And we have a message here clarifying that Rosie is indeed a golden doodle, and Gracie belongs to Norton Stillman. Norton is and Margaret Hassey, the poet, has provided us with this information. She's the one that read the beautiful poetry from her book Shelter before we got started.
That was beautiful.
Yes. So who is next after Casey Joe? Oh, I guess that's it.
Okay.
We're back to ours. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to put them into the Ask a Question box at the bottom of your screen, and Bruce will be happy to answer them. So, Bruce, when you're not writing, are you a big reader yourself?
When I'm not writing, what an odd way to start the question. It doesn't seem like I'm ever not writing anymore. I have 7 books coming out this year and 7 or 8 next year, depending upon. I'm actually writing them fast enough that the publisher is having trouble keeping up. So I read when I'm on the Stairmaster. Okay. And if the camera angle was lower, you can see that I'm not spending as much time on the Stairmaster as I ought to.
What are you reading right now on the Stairmaster?
I've got a thriller, Lisa Jewell.
Oh, I like Lisa Jewell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good one. Yeah, I've read that one too. Excellent choice. Good. So it sounds like you are a very fast writer. How long does it typically take you to complete a novel?
Well, the answer used to be 1.5 years, and I've gotten that down to about 5 months now because I'm more efficient. I do the same number of drafts, but I outline, instead of outlining once, I do 3 drafts of the outline, and sometimes the outline is 15,000 words, which is, well on its way to being book length, if you think about it. And that's because I've discovered that for me, having that blueprint be so absolutely positively mapped out means that I can write really fast. And then I cheat. My first draft I do while I'm on the extra cycle, I dictate it. And so I can talk much faster than I can type. And so I wind up getting that first draft out pretty quickly.
That's great. So 7 books this year. How does that work? It's all with the same publisher.
Well, yeah, different divisions of Macmillan. I'm doing my children's books. I mean, to be fair, the Lily to the Rescue books, 4 books a year, and those are about 15,000 words. That's pretty short. So I'm able to bang those out pretty quickly. But my novel, A Dog's Perfect Christmas, on the other hand, that, I just couldn't get started in it. And it took me like 3 months to just finally find the right voice. And then it took me about 5 months to finish it.
Okay. And I read it in one sitting.
Oh,
I started it one evening, and it was just so charming. And I think I'm going to have to buy a case of them to give out as Christmas presents, because we have so many wonderful friends that we've met through the dog community. And I kept thinking as I was reading, oh, so-and-so would love this, and so-and-so would love this. So it's just a perfect little gift-sized book, and such a great price too, at $15.99 for this gorgeous hardcover. So everybody can purchase it right at the bottom of your page. Click that teal colored buy books button, and Majors and Quinn will be happy to get you all set up.
I recommend everybody do that.
I think they should. Buy one for yourself, buy one for everyone you know with a dog. They're great. Let's go back to your first one, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. What did your daughter think about that?
Well, at the time I had 2 teenage daughters, which is something I wouldn't ask anybody to go through. And They pretty much objected to the whole process and felt that the whole process was corrupt, and that I should buy them each a car to make up for the humiliation they felt that they were receiving at school, just simply for having it pointed out that they existed. I thought I just captured stuff. Sometimes when I couldn't think of what to write, I would just listen to the two of them screaming at each other. I'd say, okay, well, there's a chapter. So they hated it. they hated it. They hated the TV show. They hated going to school and having the kids say, "Hey, what about that one time when your mom was the school nurse?" And they're like, that's the TV show. That's not my mom, you know?
Now that they're adults and you're world famous, have they changed their tune?
Oh, the good thing about teenage girls is they grow out of it eventually. I mean, my sister is 60, and we're hoping she'll grow out of being a teenage girl like any minute. But yeah, no, I would say to any father, just hang on. It'll actually get better. Maybe.
So true. I have boys, but it's the same story.
Yeah.
Although now that everyone's moved back home for COVID, I think they've reverted to being teenagers.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Funny how that worked. So, what kind of feedback do you get from your readers when you put out a new book?
Oh, I think, there's certainly a legion of fans who are dedicated to dogs and dedicated to my books because they celebrate dogs. And the feedback I get is very supportive, very, very gratifying. And I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to be an author. That was all I wanted, really. And it took me most of my life to get here. I was a failure at it and wrote 9 unsuccessful novels, meaning they weren't published before 8 Simple Rules got published, and that was my 10th book. So being here now is just like it's the fulfillment of a dream, and it's wonderful. And everybody who buys one of my books is helping to support that dream, and I couldn't be more grateful.
And that's a wonderful message for your young readers and perseverance.
Yeah, I mean, I often, I work in Hollywood and we do screenwriting and TV writing, and I'll have someone will come up to me and say, I wrote a screenplay. What should I do now? And I say, you should write another one, because I think that you learn from your mistakes over time. I certainly thought my second novel was going to get me on the New York Times bestseller list. And certainly I thought my third one was going to win me a Pulitzer. And then it turned out they were terrible. I mean, now I like to look back on them, and every page makes me just want to weep at how poorly wrought all my sentences are. But that's, you learn from that experience. So yeah, when a young person says, I want to be a writer, I tell them not to be afraid of writing something that's no good, because that's going to happen.
Good advice. We have a couple last questions here before we have to come to a close today. Paul and Lisa Von Drasek are getting a puppy tomorrow, and they are wondering if Bruce reads aloud to his dogs.
No, I have Tucker read aloud to me, but I don't read to Tucker. He's
very good.
Yeah, he's not into it.
Yeah, my dogs read to themselves. So, and I have a teacher who is asking if the book Emery's Gift is going to be a film. They have students who are dying to see it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I will note that on our adogspurpose.com website, we have teacher's guides that are core compliant for all of my books. So if you're a teacher, or if you're a parent being forced to be a teacher, you can go and find those materials online, download them. They're absolutely free, and they will help teach lessons from my books. It's just a small thing that I can do. Emery's Gift is the absolute favorite book of one of our producer partner, Gavin Pallone. And he talks constantly about wanting to make that movie. And Gavin pretty much in this town eventually accomplishes what he sets out to do. So I can't give you a guarantee, but I can tell you that the odds, in my opinion, are in favor of someday we'll see Emery's Gift up on the big screen.
Oh, great. We'll be looking forward to that. And we have one other question here. Someone says that there had a family dog who died about 20 years ago, and the vet gave them a very helpful picture book for children, which we read aloud as a family and were comforted by. It's time for another book like that. And might you be the one to write it?
That's so sweet. My heart goes out to anybody who loses a dog. We all know that that's the natural order of things, that when we adopt a dog, we're going to have a lot of really good days, and then we're going to have one really bad day. I hope that a dog's purpose, and I've been told that a dog's purpose gives people comfort. And if they keep reading this series, hopefully they get more comfort. My artwork could get me landed in jail. It's so bad. So I'm not sure that I would be the one to illustrate a book like that. But I think that I know the one that they're talking about, and it is wonderful. And it is something that I've been contemplating for a while.
Are you thinking about Dog Heaven by Cynthia Ryland?
I was thinking of All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Oh, okay. I get the children's book, Dog Heaven, quite a bit.
Dog Heaven.
As a gift.
You're right.
That's
I was just
they're both good ones.
I was just informed by the director
with the hand.
Yeah,
that's great.
So you're right. You're exactly right. That's the name.
Well, I hope that people will pick up copies of A Dog's Perfect Christmas that comes out next Tuesday. And it is certainly a balm for the soul. And I absolutely loved it. It was such a wonderfully charming read. And I was telling everybody at the bookstore that it's so great. It's something you can give to your grandmother. It's something that teenagers will enjoy reading about, the teenage girl in here, parents, and of course, all the dog lovers. So,
yeah,
and anyone who has an Irish Wolfhound.
There you go. Yeah,
yes.
I love Irish Wolfhound. Our producing partner calls A Dog's Perfect Christmas Parenthood. He says he wish that title hadn't already been taken because, oh, look at Tucker.
Here he is. He's finally sitting up the way he's supposed to.
Yeah, he's so sweet.
That's a bigger Tucker.
And meanwhile, my Tucker was licking the couch.
Well, he's been having a few treats during our conversation. But everybody, please click the Buy Books button at the bottom of your screen. It'll take you right to the Majors and Quinn website where you can get your copy of A Dog's Perfect Christmas. And we have a lot more fun going on at the festival the rest of the day. So please check back at the festival website and see what we have coming up. And you are also going to have to help us keep Rain Taxi and the festival alive. And you can do that by donating. There's also a button at the bottom of your screen for donating. And we hope that we will be able to bring this festival back to you live next year. But in the meantime, we've had a fabulous virtual event. Bruce, I can't thank you enough for joining us today from your home in California.
My pleasure to be here, and you were perfect. I think I think if I did this a few more times, I might get better at it myself. But I really, really enjoyed this.
Well, I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed meeting your Tucker. And as this is Yappy Hour, let's all raise our glasses and give a toast to Bruce Cameron and the new book, A Dog's Perfect Christmas. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.